So we have just finished day one of the inaugural Brainstorm Comics and Gaming superhero draft. Some choices were made that were definitely questionable. Some were made that fit the spot right on. Chandler and I are going to do our best to break down what we think were the highlights, the lowlights, the reaches, the spot-ons, the wins from being available in a later draft choice at a later slot. Some big surprises, Chandler. I know you didn't get a chance to be there. I know you wanted to be there. You were originally slotted to be one of the people who drafted. The inaugural draft, the inaugural pick, the first pick, the one that will forever be known as the first pick of the Brainstorm Comics and Gaming superhero draft, Franklin Richards.
Yeah, it's a weird choice. It's a weird number one overall pick.
So I assume if you had that selection, you would not have.
I probably wouldn't have gone Franklin Richards. I don't even know if that's the Richards I would have gone through, but either way, probably not number one overall.
He is a powerful choice.
Yes.
He has created a world to save his parents from onslaught in the 90s, a world that we're going to revisit here in comics very shortly. Not necessarily a bad choice, just maybe not slotted as the first
I think
pick.
he would have dropped to a couple rounds. Like, I don't think people would have got him. I think if that's somebody you were really hoping for, I don't think that was a universal number one. And in the rest of the room's mind, I don't think you would have missed your opportunity if you were hoping to get him in the second or third round.
You don't view him as a first rounder?
No, especially if there's only 8 picks in the first round, I don't think Franklin Richards makes that. Again, not saying he's not powerful or necessarily a bad choice. I just think you might want to utilize your overall number one pick with somebody that would be a little bit of a better choice.
So what do you think was the shock pick of the first round?
I mean, that was pretty shocking. I think I didn't know we were doing anime characters, so that was a little shocking apparently. That doesn't break the actual rules, just violates the spirit of the game. But I think that was shocking. I think
we're going to alter the rules next time to it being strictly American superheroes.
I mean, again, if you're counting it, sure, definitely powerful character, but I didn't expect to see that, so a little bit of a flex there. I think for me, not surprising, because obviously Batman's a very popular character, but again, first round, if you have no idea what the threat is, like, yes, okay, he has a plan for everything, but like realistically, if like a giant godlike entity drops down in front of him and he's got no one around him.
So that pick was by Balmori. What's Balmori going to do if somebody breaks into the Batcave and steals the plans that he inevitably has on all of his teammates,
and they find out? Yeah, not a great team member there. Not a good, not somebody you want on your co-ed softball league playing every Sunday with you.
In later rounds, he chose another one that was not a great teammate. We'll get to that one here soon.
Yeah.
The one that I think was a real steal in the first round, maybe let him slide to the second round, but I think that you do run the risk of him being gone off the board if you do. Black Panther checks off many different things on the checklist. He's rich, he's smart, he's great at hand-to-hand combat, he has access to vibranium. Just, I think, a good teammate to have. Obviously, regardless of what you're looking for, if you're looking for hand-to-hand combat on a street level, he's your man. If you're looking for outer space, he's your man. If you need weapons, he's your man. Like,
yeah,
he just checks a lot of things off. Jake kind of surprised me choosing Shuri in the first round, though. I think she probably would have been a later selection.
Mm-hmm. I think she checks off a lot of those boxes, and granted, with Black Panther being taken off the table, I mean, there might be some fighting and negotiating about who actually has all that vibranium when the time comes for the battle, but obviously the family, very similar powers. Obviously she's had her own time being the Black Panther, so definitely a choice. Like I said, I maybe would have thought that would have slid a little bit down there, but definitely not a bad choice by any means for a lot of the reasons you just said.
And then Jason chose Superman. I think a very safe pick, obviously.
That's what I expected in the first round. I expected somebody to have Superman.
Yeah. Kermit going with his favorites. We had discussed that there were several ways to approach this. You could either lock in, like, hey, I'm going to try and form like this powerhouse team, all world beaters. Maybe even go, you know what, I'm going to choose all my favorites. Some trying to create like a balanced team. Kermit went with Nightwing.
Yeah, definitely not a first round pick, in my opinion. I think team camaraderie, obviously, leader of the Teen Titans, several different teams, really great team player, definitely a good overall guy, as Barbara will tell you. And definitely a very knowledgeable fighter, street level, certainly. But again, I don't think if you're going for, I have no idea what's coming through that portal and I don't know what's coming on the table, I don't know if Nightwing is my first pick in the first round. I think I saved that for a couple rounds in where I don't feel he would have been taken off the board.
Well, and then we have Steve, who stuck with his namesake, drafting Doctor Stephen Strange. I think that was a good choice.
I do too.
Again, you get those cosmic characters. He's good in a wide range of situations. Mm-hmm. I think it's just a good choice overall.
Absolutely.
And that pretty much took care of the first round. And then the second round on day one, we did that as well. Kermit went with another favorite of his leading off round two, X-23, leaving Wolverine on the board, went with the daughter. Your thoughts on that?
I think it kind of depends, I guess, which version of X-23 you have. Again, definitely very powerful, interesting character. It does beg the question, though, with Wolverine still on the board, why wouldn't you just go with Wolverine? But, again, not somebody that I would have thought would have been taken second round. I feel like if you wanted X-23 on your team, again, doesn't necessarily always play well with others either, so there's that to think about. But I think, again, probably would have dropped a couple rounds. Might have played it a little bit differently, try to get somebody that isn't going to last that long.
Yeah, I thought she would have been around a little bit later into the draft as well. I would have probably let her slide at least one more round.
Yeah.
No surprise, the second pick of the second round, Jake went with Agent Anti-Venom Flash Thompson. He loves his symbiotes. He loves his Venom. Definitely not too much of a shock with that choice.
No, and I mean and again, having a symbiote on your team, one that's not necessarily a wild card and is actually going to follow along and do what you need them to do, I think is definitely not a bad choice. Obviously, there is a little bit of the sound weakness and things like that, but I think definitely symbiote very powerful. Obviously, as we've all just seen with King in Black and everything, definitely not a bad choice to have on your team.
So then Tyler follows up with another favorite of his, also one that was not on my board at all. So kind of a shock. He passed up on Invincible, who is one of his favorite characters, and went with Adam Eve instead.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by that too. I thought for sure that Invincible was going to be on his pick. I was a little surprised. I thought Invincible would have gone pretty quickly in terms of you have an overall character who just has so much power, and then certainly by the end of the run had surpassed pretty much everyone in his alien race and was like the most powerful, like the protector of Earth, like has very little weaknesses, a very powerful character. Adam Eve, also very powerful, different, a little bit more vulnerable. Obviously she is completely human, so it doesn't have that mix mash of part alien, part human that Invincible does. Again, I don't think it's a horrible choice. I think she would work well with a team. I think she has very interesting powers that can be well utilized, but I think that she would have lasted probably for a good long bit into the draft.
I think he probably could have gotten her in the 8th round.
At least 7th or 8th, I believe so too, especially it seems like a lot of people weren't necessarily going off the board with indie characters, so I feel like it was probably a safe bet. But it's hard to tell in the moment. If you have somebody you really want to have in mind, you can bite and you can, get faked out and you can think somebody might take it from you and you just can't help yourself and you grab it.
So the funny thing is we interviewed him after the day's draft for that day. And I asked him why he didn't take Spider-Man because that's one of his favorite characters. And he said he was afraid he was going to be off the board. And I was like, but he was still on the board.
You could have stopped that. You could have taken him off the board yourself.
So, but we'll continue with that. Like I said, it just kind of shocked me that that was his reasoning.
Right.
He said when he was planning his draft, he didn't even consider Spider-Man because he thought he was going to be off of the board. And I was like, we still put him on there. But, all right. So number 4, Steve Wood went with Hulk. Whether you call him incredible, whether you call him immortal. Now, again, I know you keep stressing, is he a team player sort of thing. He does have the positive of he keeps coming back whether you kill him or not.
Right. Super powerful. Obviously, the gamma radiation, definitely a heavy hitter you want to have in your back pocket. But the question is, can you control him? Which version of the Hulk is it? Is this the one that is able to think a little bit? Bruce Banner has him in control, or is this, just giant Hulk smash monster, and after the battle's over, he's just going to keep destroying things and, maybe not be able to see you guys as his team or his enemy. So you do have to run that risk. It is a bit of a wild card, definitely super powerful. So it's hard to knock it and say you shouldn't have him on your team.
And he has been on teams before.
Yes.
Defenders, Avengers.
Doesn't always
Maybe
work
not.
well, but he has been on teams before. It doesn't always work well. It's something that you're going to have to think about. It's definitely a wild card.
Yeah. And then Andrew followed it up with Silver Surfer.
Great pick. Surprised it went to the second round.
You think he should have been a first rounder?
I believe so. He was definitely somebody that was on my list. Like I said, I was very bummed out I wasn't able to be a part of the draft. But when I was looking at choices, Silver Surfer was definitely somewhere on the top of my board. Where first or second round, I would have tried to read the room a little bit to see if he was going to drop or someone was going to take him. I don't think I think it's a steal at the second round. I think Silver Surfer is a really great cosmic character that knows a lot of things and is also super powerful in the sense that pretty much any threat coming through that door, he's going to be pretty well equipped to handle that. And as far as we've seen, he doesn't necessarily have a problem working for anybody except Galactus sometimes.
High power levels. And well, even the Galactus thing, it was that he didn't want to destroy other people's worlds just to save his own.
Yes, like overall, very good moral compass, very powerful person, not a lot of weaknesses.
Balmori followed it up with a mystic choice, Dr. Fate.
I think that was a good choice as well. Again, it's somebody that I think, just because Dr. Fate is known, but it's not something that always rolls off the tongue. I think you maybe could have snuck in there with a third round.
It's not there for
possibly even round 4. Definitely very powerful, somebody you want on your team, particularly the Kent Nelson one, who's been around for a very long time, very knowledgeable in all the mystic arts. Definitely somebody you want, but I think that maybe round 2 might have been a little early to pull that trigger on that. I think you could have gotten more value for that and gotten a bigger, more powerful name that somebody else might have grabbed.
And I think Balmori started a run on the mystic characters because following that up was Jason with Scarlet Witch.
Also surprised that one dropped to the second round, especially after WandaVision. I would have thought that would have been a first round choice as well, and I think it would have been well deserved. So I think he got her as a steal, being
able to create other realities.
15 picks in, he was able to snatch her off the board.
Create people out of whole cloth.
Again, I think that was a steal, getting her at the bottom of the second round. I think that easily could have been a number 1 overall pick. Definitely a first round pick.
Well, I told you, if I were involved in this, she would have been either my 1 or 2. If I had the first 2 picks, she would have been up there.
She was on my board as well.
We'll get into what the second one was. The other one I had fell way down in the draft, and I was very shocked that he fell as far as he did. But like I said, Balmori started the run on mystic characters. So like I said, Jason took Scarlet Witch. Luis went in an opposite direction. He did the worst Flash, as I like to call him. Drafted Barry Allen.
Had to take Eric? Really? Bart Allen?
I will punch you.
Will you? I think he wanted to have that science element there.
Yeah.
Wally, God love him, he's not a scientist. So Barry might be able to do, sort of the in lieu of a Reed Richards type or thing like that to be able to help you figure out.
And he's such a good superhero. He's the Flash
threat.
of 2 worlds.
Absolutely. Also, it's not many people that are willing to give up their whole existence to save a crisis event. So definitely a guy who's going to fall on the sword for you if the time comes. So again, not a bad pick. I think second round. I know obviously you care about Wally more than Barry, but I don't think Barry Allen Flash in the bottom of the second round is misplaced. I think that's a fair pick.
So who do you think the top 2 winners of the first day of the draft was?
Top 2 winners. I would have to say right now Jason's team with Superman and Scarlet Witch is looking really, really good right now. Again, very surprised that Scarlet Witch dropped. I think Andrew with Black Panther and Silver Surfer is also looking very high up on that list.
I have Jason at number 3. He almost made it to the top 2. Andrew's at the top of mine. I think that the pairing of Black Panther and Silver Surfer is excellent. My number 2 was actually Steve with Dr. Stephen Strange and the Hulk. I know the Hulk is, like you said, questionable as a teammate.
Yeah.
Dr. Stephen Strange can do magic on him to make him more docile, however. And they've worked well together on the
Hopefully.
Defenders.
Yes,
And,
that's fair. Again, that he would be third on mine. He would drop behind that just because, again, Hulk is super powerful, but he is that wild card that, again, you hope you can control, but if something happens, Doctor Strange gets incapacitated, all of a sudden Hulk's let free, and he feels like, well, you guys have been keeping me prisoner in my own brain. Now I'm angry at you guys. You know, you could have a reverse turncoat situation on your hand. So he did drop a little bit. Again, super powerful. It's really going to kind of depend on the day-to-day situation, which is, like I said, it's a risk. It's a risk-reward. You have to decide if you're willing to take it.
so who do you think have the two questionable first round? Go ahead, say Luis.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Luis is not at the bottom of my list because, like I said, Barry Allen is not a bad pick. Franklin Richards, not a bad pick. Again, just would not do it necessarily first round. For me, I think right now I would probably have to say I would probably put it with Kermit or I just, for the placing of where it is and for what you could have gotten in those positions, I might put Balmori down there as well, just because, again, I think Batman and Dr. Fate are characters that he could have gotten. I think he could have got Batman.
Well, you're wrong. Luis had the worst first two picks in draft history. Now, I realize this isn't the only draft that we've had so far.
So you can say that.
But Franklin Richards, wait till you see the video of when he handed me the pick.
Your reaction.
Yes.
Couldn't keep your composure.
I could not. And as I said, the worst Flash. Anyway, number 2, I agree with you. Balmori let his emotions cloud his decision making, as some GMs do in
Can't
other.
make business personal. It's gonna hurt you every time.
But as I said, GMs have done that in other sports.
Oh, for
as
sure
well.
they have.
Trading whole first round picks for terrible franchise quarterbacks that they then cut 3 seasons later. I'm not going to name any names. Dan Snyder. Anyway, so that concludes our day 1 draft analysis. Overall, I know we all had fun in it, though. We will be back for our second day of draft analysis after the day 2 draft, and we'll give our breakdown of that as well. Hopefully Luis gets better. I don't count on it.